Good morning. Guess what we're going to be doing this morning? We are going to be painting a gnome. This one is fun, easy. It's a little bit different because he's steampunk. So let's go ahead and get started. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces with this set. I'm going to start with this hat. I probably shouldn't because it's going to be, well, you know what? I'm going to do him different. I'm going to do his hat teal. I say different for some, not for me because I like these vintage reds and blues. I'm going to do this velvet teal with ceramic coat. I love ceramic coat paints. That's just personal preference. Everybody has their own style and preference when it comes to stuff like that. But we're going to start, as you can see, with my fancy paint palette. And I'm going to use, I want to say this is a 1/2 inch angle brush. I have got to go get some more brushes because my brushes are, as you can see, pathetic. And I'm just going to quickly kind of give it a little base coat. I want it to where you can see it. You might have to bear with me. I may have to move this camera so I can reach what I'm painting. Actually, it's not too bad. If you'll turn your brush on the side, and if it's a better brush than this one, like not been run through the mill, if you'll turn it on your side, you can normally get a pretty straight line with it. Just run it along the bottom side, and that'll give you a pretty straight line like so. Now, I have painted a couple of these. These are really fun, to me anyway. I've painted some up that look Christmassy. I've painted some that are just plain. This particular one was a reject for sending out. So I thought, well, I'll go on here and paint this one this morning because I cut this hole a little too close to the edge. It will make a great ornament finished, but if somebody was getting it and they were going to paint it, they might be like, I don't like that close to the edge. So I try to look at all those things when I send things out. Now I paint the edges of most of my things because with laser cut items, you have the smell of, well, I call it smoke, but it's where it's charred the edges. Your edges, no matter if you paint them or not, they're going to be a little bit darker. They're going to dry just a hair darker because they were burnt. Basically, the laser burns right through them. So I'm going to finish painting these edges here. This is going to need a second coat, which is fine. We're going to run along here, and there we go. We got that, and then I'm going to paint, let's see, let's do a different flesh tone this morning. I can barely talk. My allergies are killing me, so I've got a mint in just so if you hear me crunching on it, I'm trying to be good, but let's see, how about, let's do a spice brown for his flesh tone this morning. Now, those that know me know that I love to hold little things with hemostats. That is simply because they don't wiggle around as much. Another thing you can do is you can take a piece of painter's tape, you know, like the blue painter's tape that you can get at any of your hardware stores, and you can roll it. Well, I'll show you here in just a second. Let me finish painting these two little hands. Painted his nose. There we got his hands. Okay, we're going to sit those down there. But now this is a piece I was just going to throw away, but you can take a piece of this blue painter's tape and roll it, lay it on your project. Don't do it bundled up like that, just roll it once, and then lay your piece down, and then that'll hold it while you paint it. That's another trick that I use. Okay, we're going to move on to his beard a little bit now. These are fairly quick ornaments that, you know, they make cute gifts. They're just fun because they're different. I am going to use, if I can get enough out, I meant to grab another bottle of this Bridgeport Gray. Well, I'm trying to get where the camera can, where you can see. I'm not very good at this. Okay, Bridgeport Gray is the color I prefer to use. Yep, I think I got enough, barely. Turn that upside down. Now what I use to paint these items is generally, it's a 1/4 inch angle brush. Most of what I'll use will be an angle brush, just because I like the way they paint. I'm going to turn this sideways, and then we're just going to give this just a little quick base coat here. It doesn't matter if you go up on the edge a little bit, because we're going to come back with the blue and fix all of that. So don't worry too much if you get up there. The only thing you don't want to do is make like that, where you have a thick line up there. So just be sure and smooth it out. Even if you go above the line, that's okay. All right, so let me go ahead and paint along the sides here. This really eliminates that charred smell, and I just think it makes stuff look more finished. Now, one thing you can do is you can also, if you prefer to stain the sides of your pieces, you can do that instead of painting. It's the same thing, basically. Okay. Now, I'd like to get a base coat on his beard here. I hate those little paint boogers, as I call them. All right, we're going to take his mustache. I meant to say mustache. And we're just going to run along it really quick, just to get a quick little coat. I'm sorry I keep going off camera because I've got this. I feel like I have this camera pushed back too far today. But you kind of get the gist of it all. Now, I'm going to paint as far as I can on here. And then there again, I'm going to use my hemostats to pick this up. And then I will paint the edge here. They're good little holders for this kind of stuff. They really are. I'm trying to smooth this out because there's think this paint bottle was kind of old. All right, I'm going to set that down, and then I'm going to go back to his beard again. And I'm going to use a little white and the same gray I used a while ago, the Bridgeport. I'm going to do a second coat of the Bridgeport, but I'm not going to let this coat dry. We're just going to quickly go along here. And the reason I don't want to let it dry is I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to dip it in the white, and I'm going to give him wispies, as I call them. Just start up here at the top, as close as you can to the blue, and just give him a beard. There is no right or wrong here. You can do this however you think is best. I just like to do it while it's still wet, because then that way it kind of blends it together. To me, it makes it look a little more realistic. And you just go across there till you kind of got your little wispies. And then we're going to take his mustache, which is still wet. And again, I'm going to use these hemostats to hold it. I get a pretty good grip on them with it, usually. Because if you don't, stuff will slip out of your hand. Now we're going to do the same thing here, except I'm going to go down. See how these, you've got your sides here. You want to kind of run it the way the lines would be. So the way the hair would fall. So it's going to fall kind of like this. And it'll just keep falling like so. And then if you need to, reload your brush and go down the other side. It does not have to be perfect. I've never seen two beards that are exactly the same. We're going to lay that down for now. Pardon me. Again, sorry, my allergies. And then I'm going to go back over my gnome's beard just a little bit in spots to give him a little bit more, a few more highlights, I guess you'd say. And there's what we've got so far. Now, his glasses, I think I'm going to do red, of course, because I just love red. I'm going to use the Tom Pete red. And I'm just going to do the outer edge on this. Normally I paint the whole thing, but when we paint the center of this with the blues, it's going to be hard to cover. So this is engraved lightly, so you can leave the dark if you want to, and it'll stay dark. You can come back with the black Posca pen or Sharpie if you so desire and run along the edges. I'll have to see how this ends up to decide if I'm going to do that or not. I think I might leave it just as it is. I'm using a rather small brush on this because, like I said, I didn't want to get in the middle of the goggles in this case. Now, to go back and paint the sides, I'm going to use my old trusty hemostats again. I've got another 1/4" brush around here somewhere. Right here. That's in as bad a shape as the other one. And I'm going to go around and just put a quick coat on the edges. Not a ton. On these smaller pieces, don't put anything on the backs because we're going to glue them on to the front of our gnome here. So you don't want both pieces to have paint on them, in my opinion. So we're going to go the edges. Make sure you don't have any buildup on the front. Sometimes that'll happen when you're doing the edges. Just run your brush along there. Easy peasy. Okay. Now, I think for his staff, I'm going to do it red as well at the base. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my angle brush and I'm just going to kind of make this look like the rest of the circle. Well, not quite like that, but we'll fix it. You just want to follow the line. I just went a little too high. But that's okay. It's fixable. Anything's fixable with these paints. Oh, yay. Okay, it must be noon on Wednesday. Sorry, y'all, bear with the siren for a few minutes. That's what happens on Wednesday here at noon. Sorry, it won't be much longer. Again, we're going to paint the edges of this little thing. Staff, his little staff. Lay it down. And now, we're going to go ahead and paint the gears. At first, I'm going to paint the centers. Sorry, y'all. The centers of the gears black. And then I'm going to come back with a gold. It's about to stop, I promise. I'm going to come back with a gold and do around the edges. These pieces are engraved also, so you can paint just the centers. And it really doesn't have to be perfect on this, because once it dries, we'll come back with the gold and go over it. Now for the gold, you just want to find a shimmery gold, or in my opinion, like an antique gold, not a bright gold. Well, I said it was going to end soon. I'll have to be sure I pay attention to that the next time. I'm still kind of new to these long YouTube videos. I've done a few, but not too many. So we're going to paint the centers of that. And then really, the only one on this one that we have to paint is that big center right there. And we're just going to kind of go around. Seriously, this will end in a little bit. Okay, we're going to set these to the side for a minute. I'm going to go back to his goggles. And we are going to use, I'm going to use the same blue that I used up here on his hat. And I'm going to fill in. My goodness, I never knew these sirens were this daggum long. I swear to goodness. I'm going to fill in the whole thing with this lighter teal blue. Normally I don't do goggles teal blue, but I'll show you why I'm doing it this way. Okay, there we go. Whew. All right, we're going to go with the teal blue on both of his little goggles. You want to do these fairly quickly because You do want them to still be wet. Now this little brush is a number 2 round brush. So it's a small round brush. We're going to come back with our white. And we're going to go at a diagonal. I'm going to go right to left just because that's easiest for me. If you're right-handed, you might want to go left to right. Whatever's easiest for you. Just start it at the circle and run it back. We're trying to just make this look streaked. Now on this other side here, I'm going to go left to right. It does not need to be perfect. They don't need to look exactly the same. And once those dry, they won't be quite as bright. I am going to touch up that edge where I got it over into the red here, right there. Okay. Now, next thing we're going to do is I'm going to use the gold that I have. It's just a paste that has some shimmer to it. It's a chalk paste that has shimmer to it. But, like I said, it's just one that I have. I don't have any that I necessarily recommend. I don't dislike this one. It's not my most favorite, I guess, but it's not my least favorite either. So, we're going to take a little bit of this gold, not a ton, because of this, it's real thick. Like I said, this is a chalk paste type, and it's on the thicker side, so it's just the gold that I had. So that's, try to work with what you've got. And we're going to make this staff. Got a little edge right there. I'm trying to get rid of that piece right there. It is not cooperating. Okay, and I will paint the edges slightly. I don't worry about it too much, other than, like I said, if you're painting it for somebody, it does get rid of that laser smell. I want that to be just a hair smoother than that. Okay. Now we're going to let that dry. I'm going to take one of these gears, and I'm just going to barely, because of the type of paint I have, I'm just going to barely kind of go over the top. Now with these gears being kind of steampunk style, I guess, I am not going to worry about painting the sides of these. That is another thing. Oh, I didn't mean to get that down in there. Let's get that out of there where it dries. When you go to seal this, it will also get rid of the smell. So I want these to kind of look kind of rustic, steampunky style. And I like the black on the side of these. Now I am going to go back and touch up where I painted the black before, because I want that to actually, you know what? That is going to sit on top of his hat. So I'm not going to paint this black. I'm going to go back and I'm going to paint this blue. Because I want it to look like it's actually a hole. When you cut things with the laser, you can cut really great small things, But sometimes when you get so small, like with these, I had to engrave the center because if I cut it out, it was too flimsy. It would pop apart. So I'm actually, like I said, going to go back with the blue on these. And let it show through. That's what we want to show through. Since these are sitting on top of this blue hat. So you want it to be whatever color the hat is, basically. Okay, so we got that one. Let's grab the other one real quick. And I only have to do this on this one. It's not too bad, really. Painting these is really pretty quick. Oh, yay. Thank you, Mr. Fly. You can go away. Okay. So, now that we've got him pretty much painted, I'm going to start gluing him together. And I either use, I know I said yesterday I always use Loctite. I use Loctite or Gorilla Glue. Those are the ones that I prefer. You may have your own preference. Use the glue you want to use. It's not a big deal. I did not mean to do that, but let's pull this forward a little bit, and I'm hoping that there's enough left in this bottle, because I noticed yesterday it was getting kind of low. I've been using it a lot. We're going to take our goggles, and on him there are two little divots that kind of come out to the side here. You can't necessarily see them from the camera, but you want to rest his goggles on that. Okay. And the next thing we're going to put on is his beard. You don't really need a ton of glue for this. I probably use too much, just because that's me. And we're going to take this beard and we're going to push it up to the goggles, just a hair off of them, actually about right there. What you want to do is the bottom of your beard, you want to only see beard. You don't want to see any blue. So bring it down just enough to where you can only see beard in this little crack here. Now we're going to put his nose on. Let me turn him sideways so I can see where I'm putting his nose. I'm going to put it right at the top of the beard, at the top of the mustache, I should say. Kind of centered. It'll fit, should fit pretty good right there. Now then, for each of his little arms, let me actually, I'm going to take a pencil and I am going to lay this down here. And I'm going to run just a little pencil mark like so for this side, and we're going to do the same for the other side. Does not have to be any particular fanciness or way. I'm trying to make it to where you can see what I'm doing. I'm just taking a pencil at the edge and I'm just kind of running it up at an angle there, and we're going to run this to this edge. All right, and what we're going to do here, I would normally use a little bit bigger brush than this, but since I have this one already out and kind of loaded, we're going to fill that in with the blue. Need to let that dry a minute. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. Like I said, these don't have to be the same. They don't have to be perfect. They're just whatever you make them. We're going to go like this. I'm going to go back over here and see if that's still, nope, it's good. It was, I had my brush was a little too wet with water, so, oh, I made a boo-boo there, but like I said, nothing you cannot fix. We're going to let that dry just a minute while I show you what I outline with. Generally speaking, I will use these Posca pens. If you want a T90 pen style, look for the one they have that says PIN on it. They also have, and I'll show it to you so you'll know the nib on it, I guess you'd say. See how tiny that is? They also have this style. It's a little bit bigger, but it does work. I actually prefer it for going around edges because I can place half of my tip on the item and let part of it hang off, if that makes sense. For me, it just works better. So we're going to go like this, just around the edge to give him some highlight depth, I guess you'd say. Now this would be, if you're going to go around the glasses, this would be where I would do that. I don't know if you noticed right there, but I came in a little too far with my pen, so I just made the line a little bigger right there. It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't change the outcome of it. I probably should have put this on before I put his beard on, though, right down here, but that's okay. Now, if you want to, you could outline his beard, which I think I'll go around the edges here, just very lightly. I don't want to bring it in too far. That's just my preference. You could do lines that, you know, you could make streaky lines in there if you wanted to. But I tend to just follow the outlines on stuff. Or the outer edges, I should say. And then I'm going to go around his nose. Because I do feel like just a thin line around the edge just brings it all out, in my opinion. This is still a little too wet to go around, so we're going to go around. Let's see how wet that is. Nope, that's good. I'm going to go around where these meet, and I just got some of that gold on there. I'm going to flip this over on the side and do it on both sides. To me, it just makes it look a little more finished. Sorry, it's kind of hard to talk when you're doing this outer edge stuff. At least to me it is. Now, I think on the red, with that being such a thin line, or a thin piece, I'm actually kind of putting the pen, when I'm going down the sides, I'm putting the pen almost totally off the edge. And that is why I use this bigger one for this. I feel like it gives more control. Okay, let's see. I don't want to glue his hands on yet. I think I can go around the outer edge with that. Now on the inside, it's a bit different. When I'm on the whole piece drawing, well, there we go. I prefer to use this smaller pen. These Posca pens, if you wait about 24 hours before you seal and you use a spray sealer, they do really well. If you brush on the sealer, I have found that they will run sometimes. So now I want to go along the bottom here. Oops, I got a little too far in there, so we'll see how I went kind of quick along that bottom. I made that line. I made a little boo-boo on that line, but it's okay. Now, if you wanted to make this look more, because his beard's supposed to be kind of curving off to the right, and to make it look more like that, you could come back with black lines and make that happen. But for me, I'm happy with it like this. I'm going to go ahead and glue his hands on. I'm putting them a little bit over the blue. Not sure if you can see that, just so you don't see the beard in between his hand and his shirt. Same thing on this side. Just a little over the edge there. We're going to take the staff. Let's see. We're going to glue it about here. And right down here, because I want to catch his hand. He's coming together. And then we're going to take our gears and we're going to glue those on. I'm going to glue this one kind of over here. And then I'm going to take this triple one and I think I'm going to put it right there. Yep. Now this one's kind of tricky with the glue. You do have to be, don't put a bunch down here where this one that's cut open is, because you'll end up with a mess of glue running out. That's why I use the gel control, or when I can find the Gorilla Glue, I use it because you don't want to glue over this hole. But I use it because it's got a little paintbrush on it, and I really kind of like that. And we have our little gnome. I'll show you one that I painted the other day in more Christmassy colors. It was just as simple to do as this one. The main thing I did different with this one is on his staff, I striped it to look like a candy cane for the holidays. And the way I did that is I took I've got some 1/4-inch painter's tape, and I just wrapped it around. You can get the 1/4-inch painter's tape on Amazon. It's easy to find. It's not real expensive, and I find it comes in handy. But thank you guys for stopping in today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed our steampunk gnomes.